he was like, look, yeah, you're going to be okay. The only thing I worry about is that you're both too positive.
I think he was sort of blindsided by, our unique combination of irony and positivity, that he was worried, like he was legitimately worried that we wouldn't be able to deal with some of the harder things that would present themselves in life.
Hello and welcome to Separate Bathrooms. I'm Brahe-Daddo. We would like to acknowledge the Gadigal People of the Eora Nation, the traditional custodians of this land, and pay our respects to the elders, both past and present.
I'm Cam-Daddo. I'm just sitting here quietly.
Yeah,
listening to your voice.
I see you.
Today, we are in for some sparkle, some effervescence, some joy, some feel good.
Sure are. We are about to be joined by one of the kindest and most beloved humans in Aussie show business. And her husband, just completely complements her perfectly.
Yeah, I've experienced firsthand these two. Had the pleasure to work with them both and spend time with them over the years. Lucy Durack is an Australian actress, singer and television personality who most famously played Glinda in the Australian production of Wicked, and from when I was introduced to her as Elle Woods in the production of Legally Blonde, the musical.
Yeah. She starred as Tugger in Australian television drama Dr. Doctor and as Roxy in Sisters, just to name a few of her many accolades. She's also a judge on Australia's Got Talent and is a mum to two gorgeous little ones.
Yeah. Chris Horsey, Lucy's husband, is a world champion tap dancer. He managed that feat at the age of 12 and pursues a very successful career as both a founding member and performer in world-famous productions of Tap Dogs, Bootmen and Hot Shoe Shuffle. Listener, we got the moves for you today with this one. Let's welcome Lucy Durack and Chris Horsey to the bathroom. Lucy and Chris, welcome to the bathroom.
Thank you.
It's lovely to be here.
It's very echoey in here.
Yeah, like the reverb.
Actually.
Clean.
Yeah.
Perfect for singing.
I think Cam and I are a little bit giddy, to have the two of you on today because we've been looking forward to this for so long. And then we keep going, it's Lucy and Chris, it's Lucy and Chris.
Oh, that's,
So
we're so
excited.
excited. We just love you guys so much. We're so excited to have a chat.
Well, it's right back at you. So now, you know what we do here. We're a relationship podcast. Okay. So can you just run our listener through your love story?
Wow.
How did you meet?
Okay.
That sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Great. Well, look, this is a fun story and Lucy's really good at telling it. It's been whittled down over the years, but I'll hand it over to you, Lucy.
Well, so occasionally when we tell this story, Chris is like, that's not what happened.
Feel free to butt in, Chris.
Yeah.
If it's not how it goes.
I'll be in a state of cat-like readiness.
There you go.
Well, okay, so Chris and I met in the car park of Chapel Off Chapel in Melbourne. I was in a musical workshop called Metro Street that our friend Matthew Robinson had written. That was a 2-week workshop, and Chris had come in to choreograph it, but it's a 5-hander and it's very sort of music heavy. So there wasn't a huge amount of choreography, but there was some songs. And I remember I knew who Chris Horsey was by reputation of being an amazing tap dancer and choreographer. And I'd auditioned for a show he was choreographing actually and didn't get in, but I hadn't met him. Anyway, met him in the car park, and I remember going, oh, he's handsome. Oh, like I was, and then we worked together.
All true so far.
We had a, fact checker. We worked together and we had a good time working together over this 2-week period. But it was nothing romantic. We just enjoyed working together. And then Chris moved to England. And a year after that, we bumped into each other at the Opera Bar. So that was 2005. 2006, we bumped into each other at the Opera Bar, and I was out with my girlfriends having a fun night, and Chris was at somebody else's birthday party, and we were like, oh,
that's
hi.
right. I know you.
I know you.
Yeah.
We were both a bit sort of flirty, and I was like, oh, my girlfriends and I are going to the Soho Bar in King's Cross. Why don't you come? And he was like, maybe I will. Anyway, hours passed and he hadn't come. And I was like, oh, come on. Well, the girls and I were literally walking out the door, and my phone rings and it's like, oh, I'm here.
I couldn't get in.
Can't get in.
I couldn't get in. And it was my favourite bar. I had my 19th birthday party there. I had my 21st birthday party there. I said, I know the Soho bar. I'll meet you there. But yeah, I couldn't get in because I didn't have a girl on my arm. You know, it was one of those situations. So I called.
Right. I mean, is that the moment that you pull out, but don't you know who I am?
Don't you know who I was?
So I was like, we were literally walking out. So I said to the girls, like, go back in, he's here. So, but it was so noisy. And we were doing that like,
it was really noisy.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. I can't, what? Like, couldn't. So I was like, in the end, I was like, to be honest, like we were leaving. So Chris walked us out. He pecked me on the lips, but just a peck on the lips. And I was like, oh, hello. And I was like, we exchanged numbers and I was like, maybe you should call me. And he's like, maybe I will. And he didn't. So cut to a year later.
Oh, mate.
So Chris is looking confused.
That's confidence. Yeah. That's confidence.
Well, we already had each other's numbers.
We did.
Yeah. So I think it was like hey, you know, we should do this again, and you know, I'm not sure what I'm up to, but let's get together again sometime soon. So that was, I think, where it was left. But I was in a bit of, I don't know if I was ready for a relationship at the time, you know. Right. So that's kind of really why I've heard this story a few times. And when we get to this point, you know, it is, you know, the onus has been on me a little bit to follow up that. But really, to be honest, I wasn't ready. I don't think I was ready for a relationship because I'd come out of a really long-term relationship before this happened. And I just wasn't ready. And I didn't want to jeopardize anything with this girl because I really liked her. And I thought if I go straight into this now, this could be wrong, you know. So to be honest, that's really what happened at that very moment.
And to be fair, I didn't call him either. So we both just, and I feel like normally I'm the sort of personality that'd be like, why didn't he call me? Like a bit obsessive. And I just didn't. Like I sort of, part of me it was almost like part of me knew. It was like, just wait it out.
Okay, cut to a year later. And then what happens? Who makes the move then?
So that was 2000. So we met 2005. Opera Bar was 2006.
Yeah.
2007, I had been, so a quick aside, I grew up in Perth, suburban Perth. The first CD I ever bought with my own money or with a gift card was the Australian cast recording of 42nd Street, which, unbeknownst to me, Chris is on. He is in the ensemble. It was one of his first jobs.
One of my first musicals.
Teenager. Yeah. And, but I listened to that soundtrack like hundreds of times. My family home was like on the side of a park, and we had paving outside, and I had a pair of tap shoes that I would, if I could put the lights on outside, we had French doors. The French doors acted as a mirror, and I could use the outdoor speakers and put on 42nd Street and pretend I was in 42nd Street, and I'd get home from school and put my tap shoes on with my school uniform and just tap dance outside.
So oh my God.
You are the cutest.
I just loved it.
Truly.
I just dreamed I loved 42nd Street. I love all of the songs. I loved it. I grew up just admiring that cast of Tony Lamont, Nancy Hayes, Leonie Page, Chris Horsey, Todd McKenney. There were so many amazing Australian musical theatre performers in it. And anyhow, in 2007, early 2007, the production company in Melbourne had announced they were doing 42nd Street, and they asked me if I'd like to play Peggy Sawyer, the lead young girl. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I would love that, but I'm not a good enough tap dancer. I'd done tap at uni and I'd done tap a little bit growing up, but you know, you're meant to be like the tap dancer. So I was in this tiny musical called Respect that toured the country. So I had a wage all year, and I spent almost my entire wage doing tap dance lessons. I picked up a tap teacher in every city. So I had Todd McKenney's mum, Peter Norton, kind of came out of retirement on the Gold Coast, and I hired a car. I did 5 months in Brisbane, driving down to the Gold Coast a couple of times a week to learn with Peter. I had Justin McNamara, an amazing performer in Perth. He taught me in Perth. Dana Jolly was our choreographer of the musical I was in. So whenever I didn't have a tap teacher, and when we were in Melbourne, she taught me. So I travelled with the sheet of masonite. So I tapped every single day.
That's hot.
Until
You know it is too. You're the
It's
king.
so hot. Yes.
so I was really like, I was so worried that I wasn't going to be good enough that I was just like panic tap dancing all the time. And
Panic tap dancing.
because I got cast in
It's a new condition.
I got cast in February, and it wasn't going to be on until we were rehearsing in September. So cut to August of that year, and I was presenting an award at the Helpman Awards. And I presented it, and I'd done my hair in one of those kind of a 40 style. And Chris and I bumped into each other at the after party, and we were like,
There you are
hey,
again.
you didn't call me.
There she is. There she is again.
And this drunk guy came up to us, and he said to me, hey, yeah, your hair looks cool. It looks like you're from the 40s. And I was like, thank you. And then he moved on, and Chris was like, that guy was so rude. He just said you looked 40, and I was 24. I was like, what? Like, no, he didn't. Anyway, we had a bit of it, and I was like, well, anyway, because Chris had been.
Chris showing his age there, by the way. Yeah, I'm a little deaf. You speak up.
Yeah, no, right. Is that Sonny?
And Chris was going to be in this production of 42nd Street too. I probably should have said that before.
Oh, cool.
As playing Andy,
Yes,
who is
cool.
the choreographer of the musical, within the musical. So I just changed the subject because it was a bit awkward with him saying that he thought I looked, this guy thought I looked 40.
It
and
was
I was
loud.
like,
There was a lot of
horrified.
music. There was a lot of music. I couldn't hear properly.
It was at the old entertainment centre in Sydney. Like, it was massive. And anyway, I was like, anyway, look, we're working together next month on 42nd Street in Melbourne. And he was like, yeah. I said, yeah, I'm so nervous. Like, I'm so nervous. And Chris just goes offhanded, oh, we don't do it then. And I was like, no, like, I've been working my whole year, like, has been dedicated to being ready.
Yeah, but I didn't know that. I just thought I can help you with this. Don't do it. Then you won't be feeling what you're feeling. Easy.
So I was there with our friend Matthew Robinson, and I just turned to him and was like, right, if there's one person I'm going to avoid during this run of 42nd Street, it's Christopher Horsey, because he's bad news. Like, he's so rude.
Can you see what I'm doing?
So the next month we're sitting
Brilliant.
in this big circle. The first day of 42nd Street rehearsals, I positioned myself opposite him, so I was nowhere near him, and I was like, no, that's it. I'm staying really positive. Anyway, in the afternoon, the choreographer, Alana Scanlon, had said Chris was helping her with some of the numbers since he'd been in the original 42nd Street, and she said, oh, can you take Lucy into the next room? This is where Chris and I have slightly different versions of this story, because I said to take her into the next room to see what tap moves she can do, because we're going to choreograph this number called Go Into Your Dance. And Chris reckons he said, can you take Lucy into the next room?
And yeah, what?
No, I'm not saying it.
No. Really?
Okay, so there's a tap step called flaps.
Called flaps.
There's the flap will change. Flap will change. Flap, heel, flap will change. There's a tap step called the flaps, and then back in the 30s and the 20s and the 30s, the old school chorus tap dancing girls were called flappers. That's what they were called. So I said, show us your flaps.
Anyway, we went into this room, and I was like, we were doing some practice.
It's irony.
It's terrible. Anyway, he went through some steps, and he goes, show me what Peter Norton's been teaching you. And so I showed him some moves, and he was like, you're not a bad tap dancer. Like, they're good, that's good. And I was like, no, well, I didn't say I was a bad tap dancer. I just worked really hard because I didn't feel like I was good enough. Anyway, he was like, oh, your tap shoes are a bit slippery. You need rubbers put on the bottom. I've got a guy in St Kilda. I'll go and fix your tap shoes. And in that moment, I was like, oh no, he's nice. I knew I'd fallen from him. Like, in that second, I was like, I fallen for this guy that I was trying to avoid.
Yeah.
And and we sort of it was just a short run, because production company runs were all, you rehearse for a week or two and then do a week or two of shows. And so it was all over and done with within 3 weeks. And Chris invited me out to lunch on our day off. We kind of were getting to know each other. And I was really I'd fallen quite hard for him.
And I'm still of the opinion that I really don't want to go into something really headfirst, and that's why, let's go for lunch, I'll take you down to St Kilda, we'll get your tap shoes fixed, and, as much time as we can spend in the room, because I sincerely want anybody in the world, if they want to learn how to tap dance or want to be a better tap dance, I'm there. So that's my weakness. I really honestly want to help people that want to tap dance. And this was a great opportunity. I knew the material, beautiful, very, very talented girl that I'd worked with before. And I want to make this work for the show. I want to make it work for her. And any chance I can get, really, to spend time with her in a non-romantic way, I think was the safest way of me going forward in a relationship. So I was treading quite carefully, to be honest.
Yeah, we were just like hanging out, spending time. And then it finished, the final, like the closing party happened and nothing happened. And I was like, oh, okay. No, that's okay. Like, sometimes you're just like, that's okay. It's just nice to know I can feel those feelings for somebody again. Like it had been, for me also, been a long time since I'd sort of felt that. And I was like, oh, well, that's okay. Like I didn't get hurt. Nothing happened. But at the party, it was really cold because it was Melbourne in sort of like, October. September, October.
Yep.
And Chris had lent me his gloves. And so I messaged him the next day and I said, I still have your gloves. Shall I post them to you or like, should I drop them to you? And he was like, shall we have a cheeky drink? And we did, and we've been together ever since.
And she's had warm hands ever since.
And you've been flapping ever since.
That's yes.
I should just add, if anyone is in Melbourne and wanting tap lessons, Chris has an amazing tap dance studio called Accelerate Arts in South Melbourne.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Lucy. But look, weak at the knees for a great tap story, a great tap dancer, and like I said, it's hot that Lucy was travelling around with a piece of masonite to improve her tap.
We're very specifically matched.
And Chris,
but I was very lucky.
At which point did you, when you purposely let her have the gloves to take home, wink, wink, at what point did you go, yeah, this is for sure my person?
It was totally during the short run of 42nd Street, which went only for about a week, not even. But I didn't really want to instigate anything or begin anything during that season because it gets awkward. I don't want to put the pressure on. I want to get the job done. But definitely, I guess it's a very old-fashioned thing to do, but I think really not getting the gloves back was a tactic. It was definitely a tactic. I can really sort of own that. But totally during the run of 42nd Street where we did, we were obviously working together and doing scenes together in the rehearsal room together, backstage together, waiting in the wings together. It was so romantic. It was really romantic. She grabbed my hand at one point. We had an understudy call, a very last minute understudy call. We were waiting side stage and Lucy reached out and grabbed my hand. And, you know that one where you've got your fingers intertwined, that's when I go, okay, right, this is happening, this is good. She feels the same way that I do. It was really a bit of a slow burn as
it was
as
very
you can tell from the long story. But yeah, Ali, it was really during that show where, and I was in my safe place, being in a show, on stage, backstage, back in dressing room situation, rehearsal room, and in a tap dance show. It was a dream come true that she liked me, and that then we got together the night after the closing night of 42nd Street, and it was the proof's in the pudding. We're still here.
16 years ago.
Lucy, your positivity is stuff of legends, and it really is. And having worked with you over the course of Legally Blonde, and there was this ray of light always coming out of your dressing room, and it was always done. There was always so much fun and joy. Coming from you, emanating. Well, Daddo, actually. Thank you. What do you put your positivity down to? I mean, you've just said about your dad that he was kind of stoic and didn't say much. Where does your positivity come from?
I think a big portion of it is from my granddad, who passed away a few years ago. My granddad, Lindsay, who our son Theodore Lindsay is named after. My granddad was a super grateful person. Like, I think it was just innate. I don't think he was doing it on purpose. Like, he was the sort of person that would always say, you know, he and my grandma, they passed away within a couple of years of each other, but they were like absolute lovebirds. They'd been together since teenagers. And he would say, even when they were in their 80s and 90s, look at that woman. Isn't she the most beautiful woman you've ever seen? He was just so passionate about my grandma and about his family. And they'd moved here from South Africa with 4 kids. They had a 5th child here. And they had very little money, and they really, and you know, it was tough times. But my granddad's always, he's never seen it as tough. He's always felt so lucky and so grateful, and everything, you know, he really believes in things working out, and he's just naturally was so grateful. And I remember, like, as a kid looking at him and thinking, how does he do that? Like, he'd say, look at this flower, that's nature. Can you believe it? Like, he was just so in awe of the world and beauty and things. And I was so glad that Chris, you know, got to know Granddad a lot over the time. And my mum is similarly like that, and very grateful. And yeah, and I think it's been it's something that I have cultivated in a way. I mean, I do think I'm naturally a little bit more of a glass half full person, and I think that you know, you're lucky if you are. And I know it's not as easy for everybody, but at the same time, like, I've definitely gone through times that have been really tough. And the thing that has gotten me out of the deepest holes has been going back to that sort of just gratitude for what you do have in that moment. And of course, that's like usually the hardest time to find anything to be grateful for. But I think the more you can come back to just, you know, wow, that sky is so blue. That's beautiful. There's that beautiful film, Soul. Is it Disney Pixar? It's like a children's film, but it's very adult in its concepts. Yeah. I think of that so often. We watched it with our kids, and you know, he looks up, I can't even really remember it, but he's that jazz musician, and he gets another chance of life, and he just sees things, you know, everyday things that we all see, beautiful leaf or beautiful sky or anything that anyone can see if they're living, and he just really appreciates it as the experience of life. And the more I find just coming back to those sorts of things every day, that helps. But yeah, like some days are easier than others.
And has that helped you, I mean, twofold question, but has that helped you, in the entertainment industry where the highs are high and the lows are low? And has it also helped you in your marriage as well?
Yeah, I think it has. Funnily enough, when Chris and I after we got engaged, we ended up getting married on Rottnest Island by our very close friend John O'Hara, who's a gay marriage celebrant. We also got married by our close family friend Richard Pengelly, who's an Anglican priest. And then because it was a Catholic church, we had to get married. Also, it had to be a Catholic priest. So it was like we got married. It's like, sounds like the setup for a joke. We got married by so many different people. But our friend Richard Pengelly had said, oh, you should go and do a marriage preparation course. And so we did one with Relationships Australia, I think. Anyway, we had to do these like multiple choice questions. It was 3 sessions. And he said to us on the 3rd thing, after we'd done these, I think 3 lots of multiple choice things each week, he was like, look, yeah, you're going to be okay. The only thing I worry about is that you're both too positive. I'm not sure how that's going to work, like when you come up against adversity.
He didn't think it was very real. I mean, and I would say too, by the way, that it was great advice to go to Relationships Australia or Relationships prior to getting married, because it did raise a few questions for me, that just things to look out for and just be mindful of, and start to make some internal decisions should these questions come up. But yeah, I think he was just sort of blindsided by us two, you know, by our energy and our our unique combination of irony and positivity, that he was worried, like he was legitimately worried that we wouldn't be able to deal with some of the harder things that would present themselves in life. And Lucy was very vehemently opposed to his point of view and his suggestion that what we were pursuing and the way we were pursuing it was unrealistic. And I've actually never seen Lucy as opposed, and she got a game face on, you know, in the relationships sort of counselling office or room, you know, and it was a wonderful show of strength. and a corner, a corner that I would really want to be in, as a consequence of this meeting with this dude.
Like I actually think as well, like obviously it was multiple choice questions as well. So there's not a lot of room for light and shade and, different dynamics within that. And I think, ultimately Chris and I still are, pragmatic people in the world. I actually think Chris is natural. I was chatting about this with my friend Vera the other day. I think Chris is naturally more positive than me, and I am somebody who's cultivated a positivity. So I think I actually have got a slightly more, serious.
I think yours is learned and mine's experienced. I feel like the things that the way I see the world has been through experience. And I'm not saying that you haven't experienced those things too, but I think you've really learned to be the positive person that you are through example, of course, too.
Well, and I think, through example and through adversity and trying to be like, oh God, how do I get out of this? Like through times that have been really tough and I've been like, what am I doing in life? Especially I found like my early 20s really hard. And so the positivity and those kind of practices, I did that to kind of get myself out of just harder times. And so I feel like mine's come from a learned perspective. And I don't know, I think our son Teddy's a bit similar. The two of them are sort of just a bit more like my granddad. Just
but don't you think that the world became a much more positive place during the 90s? During the sort of maybe the late 90s, early 2000s, I felt like, and Cam, I don't know how you feel about this, or Ali, that in the 80s, when I left school and joined the workforce, which for me was the entertainment industry, and so it was for you, it was a very sarcastic place. A lot of humor was sarcasm. It was, a lot of songs that we listened to from the 80s and early 90s are all about heartbreak and all about, people doing wrong by each other. And then there was a change of consciousness, which I think came about through spirituality and through various ways. But I felt like there was a changing of the guard, and I felt like the whole world became a much more positive place in movies and books and CDs and songs and in dance. Choreography started to become more positive, and I felt like Lucy was the leader. For me, in my world, in my experience, Lucy was using all these terms and references and anecdotes, and her positivity was very much, she was taking the lead in that.
Well, I got all of it from Oprah, so I can't take any of it myself.
So how old are the kids? You've had two kids, Polly and Theo.
Yeah. Paul is 8, and Theo, Teddy, Ted, Theodore. We've accidentally given him like 5 names. He is turning 4. Yeah, he's nearly 4.
Gosh, so the two of you being such positivity bubbles, I mean, imagine being your kids growing up. They're going to feel like the world's their oyster, and it'll be like, life is good with parents like you two.
I hope so. But, we're in that sweet spot. Like, these are great ages. I know that it also shifts once they're a bit older, of course. So we're in a lucky spot.
And of course, my mum wanted me to ask you this because I was saying how we were talking to the both of you. She goes, I just want to know, are there kids going to go into the entertainment industry? So are they? Do you feel like are they showing any signs of singing, dancing,
happy
tap
tapping,
dancing, anything like that
Polly
as yet?
is a fantastic tap dancer. Wow. She's got great timing. She's got good technique. She's been listening. She benefits. Thankfully, she wants to do it, but she benefits from me just dropping a few hints on her every now and then if we're waiting in the line at Coles, and I say, "I'll just try this," or when you do that, and I can just give her a few little hints every now and then and make it fun. It's got to be fun, and it's got to have some rhyme and melody to it. I'm not going to make her do it in her darkest hour or anything, but she's a real great listener, and she loves rhythm and melody, and she's a really great tap dancer, a really good storyteller with her singing, and a great actress. And she comes to my dance studio, and it's a delight having her in my classes. You know, you don't know what your own child's going to be like when you're teaching them with other children involved. And she's just a perfect student. She's fantastic.
Yeah, she really wants to try. You know, she tries really hard. She wants to be a good student, and we're lucky. And Teddy is he like. He's great as well, but he's only 3. I think we both breathed a sigh of relief when we realised they could both sing in tune, which means car trips are very enjoyable, that we can all sing in tune.
Yeah.
And Paul can do a few Paul's actually really good at harmonies now, and that's been really enjoyable. Do your kids sing? Because
they
so
do.
musical.
They do. And this is one of the great things for me. I mean, we're not all in a car that much anymore, but Lotus and Bodhi both are able, and this is something that I cannot do or easily, it takes me a lot of work to pick a 5th or a 3rd harmony. And those two do it innately. Wow. And then they'll sing along. So there'll be something playing on the radio that they love, and one of them will hit the 3rd and the other one jumps on the 5th.
Wow.
And to listen to those two sing, it's like, oh my God. Oh. And so it's so, and I'm like, look, I think our mistake is when they've shown aptitude at stuff, we heap it on them and go, yeah, go. And we get so excited that they go back away from the fire. You know, mum and dad, you know, uncle, leave us alone.
My talent at singing is ruining the song. Like I'm one of those people that sings and everyone goes, Hallie, just don't. Could you just not?
I think that you should though. You should. I love
I agree.
Anyone singing. You know,
I have rhythm. I do have rhythm.
Yes.
I give myself a pat on the back.
Great
for
dancer.
That. I can dance.
You could go to Chris's tap school.
I would love.
Yeah.
Did you learn dance, Ali?
I did. I learned ballet. I did about 9 years of ballet, but I wish, and it was that's all I had available to me at the time, but I would have loved to have done contemporary and jazz and done that. Bodhi also, our youngest, is a phenomenal dancer. But again, you try to give her a little shove, and she's like, nah, it's just for fun. I'm like, okay, it's just for fun. Yeah. But she's really good.
There's so many benefits to ballet. You know, there's just so many proven. There's proven benefits, but you just don't know the benefits from training, having a good classical ballet training in your youth. It's so helpful for your posture and for just so many other reasons, isn't it?
Correct.
Oh, don't look at me though.
Luce, did you pass down the Masonite to Polly? Did you have it still?
I don't have it still. Chris has various tap boards though. So actually when Polly, in fact, you know, we did have it we used to live in Sydney, and Polly had, when she was a baby, because we'd gotten together on 42nd Street, a good friend of ours, Kim Bishop, when Paul was born, had made these little tap booties. So they were like little baby booties with tap plates on them. And we put Paul as like a baby in a jolly jumper on our door frame, and we put the Masonite underneath. And we've got this amazing footage of her looking tap dancing as a less than 1-year-old. It was so cute.
Wow. No wonder she's an amazing tap dancer already. Just hearing that be through her little body, she would know that.
It's pretty amazing. This one video we've got, it honestly looks like she's tap dancing like in the little gaps. Like it's very good. I'll have to send it to you.
Chris, you have so much passion for the industry that you're in, because I know that you also do, you like tour and do lectures and talk about, you know, the entertainment industry and tapping and everything, don't you, as well?
Yeah, look, I've been so lucky to be part of the zeitgeist in the 90s of the sort of percussive dance zeitgeist. You know, was part of Hot Shoe Shuffle and Tap Dogs even before they were called Hot Shoe Shuffle and Tap Dogs, and toured the world with these tap dance shows at the same time Stomp was very popular, and a big Irish show called Riverdance, which most people know. It was just this zeitgeist that we were part of. You know, we didn't create the zeitgeist, but it was just this crazy revolution of percussion. And so owing that experience, I've been invited to go and lecture in many performing arts institutions around the country, and that's a great opportunity. And what I usually do is I'm there to choreograph a musical. So in the case of say a few years ago, I choreographed West Side Story for the Queensland Conservatorium. It was a show that I was in back in the 90s, but it was also a chance not only to choreograph it, but to show the students how you choreograph and why the decisions are being made. And I like things to look like the music sounds, for instance. That's how I approach choreography. I also want humans to look like humans on stage. I want the people in the audience to be able to relate to what the people on stage look like, whereas some choreography can look very obscure, which is also a certain style and has its place. That I teach, and lecture in how I approach choreography and how I see movement as it relates to storytelling and character development. So these are the sorts of things that I love to discuss with students, which I think is just as important as the dance steps themselves.
Love it.
What you're both so passionate about the business and about entertainment. What do you love about it that our listener will go next time after hearing? I mean, I want to be putting pressure on you for the answer here, but I often find when I hear other people talk about what they love about something, the next time I look at that thing that they're talking about, somehow that infects what I'm looking at and I take it on. What do you guys love about show business?
I love that we're a group of adults who are coming together this was sort of, I just did a musical in Melbourne called Midnight. I played a small part. I was like a fairy godmother and it was so enjoyable, but it was a brand new Australian musical. And we were my mum was visiting us and we were waiting because there's going to be a little piece on the news about it, and we were waiting for it, and of course it was the last thing of the news. So every time we had our camera out, because Mum was wanting to video it to send it to our relatives in Perth, and so it would be like, oh, is this it? Double murder. We're like, no, that's not it. And we're like, is this it? Like these terrible news stories,
political unrest in Europe
terrible
somewhere.
Things, and
we'll show you how to survive the flood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was. And then, of course, it sort of dawned on us, like, of course, we're the last thing, because there is, of course, life is hard and there's hard parts to everybody's lives. But I love the fact that we come together to try and make something beautiful and trying to tell a beautiful story that's maybe going to give you a moment of escape, whether it's uplifting or whether it's something grueling like Les Mis. It's just really beautiful in its telling of its story. And in the case of this particular show, Midnight, it's a Cinderella story. So it was like it was really uplifting and really positive and a lovely moment for families to come together. And I love that that's what we do as grown-up adults. We're make-believing to try and make the world a better place or a more livable place in putting something out there. And I think that's what I love, that we're trying to make people's lives better by doing something that makes us feel good too. It's also like very selfish. Like I feel so comfortable and comforted by being on stage and part of this big, a cog in this big thing that's, trying to tell a story. And
I would add to that, because my energy is now shifting into more education, performing arts education, and I love being part of the community. I like giving families, parents, a place to send their children after school, so that they're not on the street. And so that they've got something to pursue, something that's artistic, something that's creative, something that complements what Lucy said. But it also teaches them such valuable social skills when they're in the room, reading each other's emotions and dealing with each other on a day-to-day basis, but all focused on the one end product, which is learning this song, learning the staging, learning the dialogue, learning the choreography, and everyone's there for the same reason, and it's all to tell a story, and which complements, I think, what the point that Lucy made. So I like getting people into the studio, kids, and showing them, we're working on the Addams Family at the moment, and so we're discussing, well, who are the Addams Family? Why were they so popular? And I just even to the juniors, the 8-year-olds, and I said, this is a TV show where, it was a very unusual family that lived next door to very normal people, but who's to say that the Addams Family's the normal ones, and the normal ones are the Addams Family? This is actually a a story of tolerance. You know, the Addams Family, yeah, they're going to dress up like you do in Halloween, but this is actually a story of tolerance. So it's a real thrill and a privilege to be able to educate the children through musical theatre in some of these more important, I think, lessons in life.
Amazing answers, thank you. And I was also thinking it does get you, it gets the kids out of their phones as well.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
That's it, isn't it?
Right.
Like, you can't be on a phone in the theatre, you'll get in trouble, and Usher will come and say...
That's so true.
Yeah.
So true.
We have so many more questions, but I know we're pressed for time. You two are so delightful to talk to, and we knew this would happen. But do you want to? Do we have to just jump in the shower?
Oh, can we just do this before you jump? Tell us about Hey Lemonade.
We do want to know about Hey Lemonade.
This is something that's important to
Thank
you.
you. I'd love to.
What is Hey Lemonade?
So Hey Lemonade is my business partner, Elise McCann, who you can currently see playing Donna in Mamma Mia, travelling around Australia. And Elise played Miss Honey in Matilda, and she's an amazing performer. But Elise is also a brilliant person who just happened to do a law degree whilst she was doing Fiddler on the Roof as a younger woman.
Just as a sidebar.
She's a lawyer as well. She's very, very clever. And she and I have been wanting to work. She's produced some television and theatre and stuff, and we've been wanting to work together for a while. And anyway, we've come up with this pep talk app. And it was kind of based on things we needed. Really, it was big. Partly, it was really a silver lining of 2020. We were both finding life a bit stressful when, you know, as we all were. We were all been handed a few lemons, and we were needing somebody to help us make them into lemonade. And Elise had been working in New York for Sarah Jessica Parker's company, and she had to come home because her mum was going through cancer treatment. And Chris and I just moved to Melbourne. I was playing Princess Fiona in Shrek the musical, and of course the industry was shut down overnight. And we were really needing some support for kind of everyday stresses. Like you know, the things that you're not wanting to call one of those amazing lines like Beyond Blue or Lifeline, because you're not feeling suicidal, but you are feeling very overwhelmed, and you're not wanting to take a line away from somebody who is, you know, in a much more serious position than you, but you're finding things really hard. And so we have designed this app, which is 3 to 4 minute pep talks. All the pep talks are written by award-winning Australian writers, but they're all overseen by our team of psychologists, and they're all offered in every talk is just short and sharp, and it's really specific. It's in specific language, like when you're feeling FOMO, when you need a G up for a big meeting, when you're feeling comparatitis, I can't stop scrolling, I'm feeling lonely, things like that. Just everyday things, but that we all feel, in the hope that if we're really specific about these things, somebody will, even just by looking at the title, think, well, I'm not alone, because somebody else has thought that and they've made a pep talk for this, let alone then it's voiced in 3 or more voices. So we have people like Maggie Beer, Tony Armstrong, Benjamin Law, Zinzia Kenyo, Jamila Rizvi, amazing Zoe Tarakis, amazing voices. And voices and writers who come from different backgrounds and different lived experiences. So they have experience of these different things affecting their own lives as well. And so now we have this app called Hey Lemonade that has hundreds of pep talks in it, all and then it was tested by the CSIRO as well, which was nerve-wracking because the CSIRO team of scientists that we'd worked with, they said, oh, look, we're not going to make it obligatory for the people who were trialling it to use it. We're like, oh no, but how will we know if they use it? But they did use it, and they gave it to a group that didn't get it, and then there's a group that did get the app. And the group that did get the app over the 4 weeks of the trial, by the end of the 4 weeks, they had they experienced feeling 50% calmer and feelings of contentment, and a 50% increase. And they found that they had a significant decrease in their perception of daily hassles, and a significant increase in their feelings of positive energy and vitality, and a general increase in their feelings of self-efficacy and coping mechanisms. Wow. So we know that if you, we know that it works, which is a massive relief. We sort of, Elise and I cried tears of joy and relief the day that those results came through.
Yeah,
brilliant.
So it's
and
great.
so
and
it's out there now.
It's out there. It's on the App Store and in Google Play, and we got some funding through the New South Wales government to test a high school version, which we've created specifically for high schoolers.
Amazing.
So we're testing it with Year 9 and 10 students in 15 schools in New South Wales in Term 4. So we're really excited about that.
Beautiful.
Congratulations. That's huge.
Thank you.
Adding more positivity to the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just beautiful.
Incredible.
Thank you
Love
guys.
it.
It's been a great journey.
Yeah.
Well, as Ali said, there's so many more things we want to talk to you about. We do need to jump into the shower, though.
Great.
Sweaty.
And we'd love you to come with us.
Fantastic.
If you would-
But you never asked.
If you can both answer these questions, we'll keep it a short shower. So keep your answers short. What's your best quality?
Making breakfast.
My best quality is gratitude. That was a bit boring, isn't it? Drinking margaritas.
Gratitude for margaritas. Hallelujah.
Who do you admire?
So many people.
Yeah.
Gosh,
It can also be a type of person. Sometimes
I admire
that helps
Lucy.
as well.
After that lovely wrap up of Hey Lemonade, I certainly admire Lucy.
Thank you. I admire anyone who just keeps going and trying to do anything positive in the world, you know, and just getting back up. You know, what's that Chinese proverb? Fall down seven times, get up eight. Yeah.
Yep.
Anyone that does
Love
that in the world, I love that.
Me too. What the world needs now is...
Well, obviously love, sweet love.
Tolerance.
Tolerance.
What does your perfect day look like?
Having no plans and getting to potter, which we just never do.
Yeah, with the family.
Yeah. Pottering around our own house, I think would be ideal.
Okay.
Beautiful.
And the last question. Your partner in one word.
Fun.
Exciting.
You guys are fun and exciting.
Yes.
Thanks so much for your time today, Lucy Durack and Chris Horsey. You guys are amazing. Thank you.
I feel like I've had a shot of coffee thanks to chatting with you. It's been so fun and thrilling.
You've been so kind about our positivity, but I have to say, every time I've met you, Ali, you've been so generous and kind. It's always been an opening night or just quickly sitting in the seats waiting for a show to start. And you, Cam, when I met you, when you and Lucy were doing Legally Blonde, we had a Melbourne Cup lunch and I sat next to you, and I didn't really know you, of you, of course, but and I was going through something, and I actually leant in and I said, hey, and I asked you a question that was about family or something, and you were so kind and so generous to be so open about your experience and really helped me with your honesty and kindness. So, you know, thanks to you both for your kindness and positivity too.
Yeah, you're both real gift to society. We're so lucky to have you. We're so lucky to know you as well.
Thank you.
You're our friends, and we're so grateful.
Well, we've had a shower together now, so we're all
I
friends.
know. Those that shower together stay together. What can you say?
Come down and visit us in Melbourne. We'd love to see you.
Would love that.
You might be surprised. It'll be sooner than you think.
Oh, great.
See you soon.
We'll hold you to it.
All right.
Thank you.
I couldn't get the smile off my face. My face is actually sore just from listening to them. I sort of felt like this inner sense of calm as well as I was listening. Did you find that too? I felt like, I'm just like kind of wrapped up in this warm hug as they were talking. It was so nice.
Well, as I said, Lucy's the positivity emanated from her dressing room. It always arrived, 3 minutes before she actually showed up in person. And as Elle Woods, that Legally Blonde is the story of Elle Woods, and so she was the leader of that company, and it trickled down through the cast,
right,
and through the crew. It was such a joyful time, and then to be with Chris and hang out with Chris, because he's, as you now know, you've had an hour with him, and our listener now knows that he's hilarious. And he calls a spade a spade. I mean, he's so real, and I reckon that's the dancing, the groundedness. He's thumping his feet on the ground, and the fact that now he's sharing all of his wisdom. These students are very...
Imagine being taught by him for tap.
I know.
Wow. Because he's teaching a philosophy at the same time.
Exactly.
So,
it's
fantastic.
like a holistic thing that he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hope you enjoyed the chat with Lucy and Chris. I hope you did, as much as we did. We'll catch up with you next time on Separate Bathrooms.
Thanks for listening.